There was a man named Raphael. He was 29 years old and lived with the feeling of always being behind in his own life. When he was at work, he thought about what he'd failed to do at home. When he was with his family, he remembered deadlines and demands from the office. And when he tried to rest for a few minutes, his mind would start creating endless to-do lists, guilt, and regrets. He went to sleep with a full head, woke up tired. It was as if his mind never shut off. Raphael felt like he was being pushed along by time, like a boat lost in a current. Nothing completely satisfied him. Everything seemed urgent, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find peace. One night, after another exhausting day, he dreamed of a dirt road climbing through mist-shrouded hills. High above, a small light flickered like the flame of a lone candle. When he woke, the dream echoed in his mind, so vivid it felt like a summons. The next day, he told his dream to an older friend who listened attentively and said, "This place exists. It's in the mountains to the north. They say a wise man named Elijah lives there. He teaches people to listen to the silence." "Teach silence?" Raphael repeated, confused. His friend simply smiled and replied, "Yes. Some say that after speaking with him, the mind is never the same again." Raphael spent the next few days trying to ignore it, but the dream and his friend's words haunted him. Until one Saturday morning, without planning, he got in his car, hit the road, and started driving toward the mountains. The drive was long, and as the car climbed, the cell phone signal faded. The noise of the modern world was replaced by the sound of birds, wind, and the engine breathing heavily. By the time he reached the village, the sun was setting, and the golden light made everything seem sacred. He asked a man sitting by the roadside where he could find old Elias. The man pointed to the top of the hill and said, "Follow where the wind blows loudest, that's it." Raphael climbed on foot. The path was narrow and rocky, but with each step, the air seemed lighter. Until at the top, he spotted a small wooden house covered in vines. On the porch, a white-haired man gazed at the horizon. Elias saw him coming, and before Raphael could even say anything, he spoke in a calm voice. "You took a while." Raphael stopped, surprised. "Yous were expecting me?" "Those who seek silence always arrive. They just don't know when," replied the old man. Raphael sat beside him and for a few seconds was silent. Then, as if a dam had broken, he began to speak. He talked about his fatigue, his fear of failure, his constant anxiety. He said he'd tried meditating, traveling, and changing his routine, but nothing seemed to help. When he finished, Elijah got up and went inside the house. He returned holding a small lit candle and a clay saucer. He handed the candle to Raphael and said, "You want peace. Then I will give you a simple task, but one that will require everything from you." Raphael looked at the candle, intrigued. "What should I do?" "You will go down to the stream that runs past the village entrance and then return here, keeping the flame burning the whole time. If the wind blows out the candle, go back and start again." "Is that all?" he asked, a little disappointed. Elijah smiled. "You said just that, but you'll see it's not as simple as it seems. Now go." Raphael took a deep breath, carefully picked up the candle, and began walking down the trail. The wind was light, but strong enough to make the flame dance. With each step, he held the candle in his hands, as if it were precious. He soon realized the path was more difficult than he remembered. The uneven terrain required balance. The sound of the stream below mingled with the rustling of the trees. A group of children ran and played ahead, laughing loudly. A puppy barked, a rooster crowed. Raphael tried to ignore it all, focusing only on the small, flickering flame. At one point, a stronger gust of wind nearly blew out the candle. His heart raced. He stopped, lowered himself, and covered the flame with his hands until it stabilized. Then he continued. It took him almost an hour to reach the stream. When he saw the water running, he felt an inexplicable relief. He touched the saucer to the water, wetting the base, and began climbing again. The wind was now coming from ahead, colder. Each step felt like a battle between focus and the fear of failure. Several times he thought about giving up. His body was tired, his legs were trembling, but the flame remained alive. small, firm. When he finally arrived at the house, it was already night. Old Elias was sitting in the same spot, his eyes closed. Without saying anything, Raphael pointed to the still-lit candle. Elijah opened his eyes and stared at the flame for a few seconds. Then he asked, "What did you see on the way?" Raphael thought and replied, "I saw the trees, I heard the children, the sound of the water, but most of the time I only saw the flame. I was afraid of losing the fire. I was afraid of making a mistake." The old man shook his head slowly. "And when fear came, what did you do?" I took a deeper breath. I stopped and protected the candle with my hands. "And in those moments, did you think about the past, about debts, about the future?" "No, only in the flame." Elias smiled, as if confirming something he already knew. "So you understand. The flame is your mind. The wind is time. When you try to live outside the now, the wind extinguishes the light. But when you protect the present, when you care for it attentively, the fire stays lit." Raphael was silent. He felt his heart beat slowly. Those words seemed simple, but they echoed deeply as if they had been written inside him. The old man continued, "The human mind is always running away. It runs to yesterday or tomorrow, but never rests in the now. And that is why it lives tired. The peace you seek is not in doing less or in changing places. It is in being whole in every moment." Raphael stared at the flame, which burned calmly, almost motionless. For the first time in a long time, he felt something resembling stillness. Not a forced stillness, but a natural one, like the silence after a rainstorm. Old Elias stood up and said, "Blow out the candle with a gentle breath." Raphael obeyed. The smoke spiraled upward and dissolved into the air. The old man added, "Now, the flame is within you, and if you pay attention, you'll notice that it never goes out. You're the one who moves away from it." That night, Raphael slept in the small house, hearing only the sound of the wind in the leaves. There were no more plans in his head, no worries about the next day, just a living silence. At dawn, he descended the hill. The village was still waking, and he felt the whole world breathing in unison. The birdsong sounded different, or perhaps it was he who heard it differently. Each step on the damp ground was a conversation with the present. On the way back, he remembered the dream that had brought him here. The road, the light overhead, the mist. Now it all made sense. The light wasn't distant. It had been inside him all along. Raphael returned to his hometown that same day. The traffic, the noise, the commitments, everything was still there. But something had changed. He drove slower, listened to the engine, observed the landscape. When someone honked, he simply took a deep breath and smiled. In the days that followed, he noticed his mind still trying to race to the past and future. But now he recognized the movement. When this happened, he would stop what he was doing, breathe, and remember the flame. One night when he came home after a long day, he found his daughter playing on the rug with a glass of water and a small candle. She looked at him and said, "Dad, look. If I blow hard, it goes out. But if I breathe slowly, the candle stays lit." Raphael knelt beside her and smiled. "That's right, my love. It's the same with our minds." The girl smiled back, and in that instant he realized the secret was not to escape the world, but to remain present within it. The months passed, and life continued with its joys and challenges. But every time mental fatigue threatened to return, Raphael remembered old Elias, the wind, and the candle. And when he closed his eyes, he always found the flame, still shining within him. One day, he decided to write a letter to the old man. In it, he thanked him for everything and said, "Now I understand what you meant. The mind seeks distant miracles, but the true miracle lies in seeing the present." He didn't know if Elijah was still alive, but somehow he felt his message would reach him. And perhaps this was the proof that changed everything. Realizing that peace doesn't depend on absolute silence, but on complete presence. At the end of the letter, he wrote one last sentence as a reminder to himself. The flame does not need to run from the wind. It only needs to learn to dance with it. And so, Raphael began to live each day as if it were his only one. Not because he feared the end, but because he had discovered the beginning that had always existed, here, now. The secret, after all, was where he had never looked, within the moment itself. If this story touched your heart, take a deep breath now and feel this moment. It's the only place where life truly happens. And if you think more people need to remember this, leave a comment telling us what this story sparked in you. Give it a like so it reaches those with a weary mind. And if you want to continue this journey of stories that speak to the soul, subscribe to the channel. Here, each story is an invitation to return to the present, because it is only in the now that peace resides.